Good morning, and thank you, and welcome back to my page, My Abuela's Brews. Today we're going to talk about her wisdom, how wise this woman was. And it's going to have to do with trees, but most of all with her philosophy. When I was a little girl, we used to pick cotton. We would go from town to town and migrate all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas. And that was when we used to live in the valley. So we went from town to town, and we enjoyed it. I was always with my grandmother. She was nice, she was loving, and she was full of information, but I was so small that I didn't comprehend sometimes. When we got to Arkansas, it was raining, and we had to take everything from the big kettle truck which we were driving in, and make our way to a barn that was loaned to us. And the barn was segregated into sections, families, and then singles, and then last men, single men. One day it had rained so hard that we didn't go to work. We didn't go to pick cotton. So my grandmother decided to go into the field next to the barn because there were a lot of trees. And of course, I was always with her, so I tag along. And she would talk to the trees. She was a tree hugger. And so my abuela would see a tree that one of the branches was cut off, and she would ask him, are you in pain? Are you healing yourself? Things that to me sounded ridiculous, but I didn't say anything because I owed her respect. So we finally came to this tree, and I think it was a whipping willow tree. I'm not sure, but I think it was. And it had cut a big branch. The previous storm had cut a big branch from the tree. And there was still some sap coming down. She got her little knife that she had in her apron, which I didn't know, and started scraping that sap and put it into a jar that she had. I asked her, what is it? And she said, gum. And I thought it was chewing gum. So she gathered as much as she could, and we gathered some branches, took them home with us, the place we called home at the time, and she did her hocus pocus. I don't remember, I don't recall. All I know is that she made something out of that sap. She said she was hurting from her shoulders, and that she was going to put some of the medication she had made on the shoulders, and she asked me to do her upper shoulders, which I did. And then she put some on her knees herself, and we went to bed. Next morning, she wakes up and she is in a very good mood, and we cleaned the place and we made it comfortable for us to live in. And that was that. That's all I can remember. Following week, or maybe 2 weeks, we were told there was a little commotion outside, and we were told that they were going to put a horse down and use it for glue. And I remember the sap my grandmother had gotten from the tree. So my grandmother saw the horse, and she asked our manager, the one that took us from place to place, if she could try to cure the horse. And he says, I don't know, I'll have to ask the owner of the place. So he went and asked, and the wife said, yes, let her give him a try. And of course the man said, no, he's old, he's no good, he has to be put down. And the wife insisted, let her try. So she asked my grandmother through the manager what she needed. And my grandmother answered, I'm going to need some rags so that I can wrap his foot after I give him a massage. And so they brought an old holy sheet, a bed sheet from the house, and they started. They put a little stool, and one of the ranchers or one of the helpers was holding the horse so that he would not kick my grandmother. And so she started putting the medication that she had made, that I had put in her shoulders 2 weeks before, into the horse's leg. And I was like, what? What is she doing? But I said nothing. So she started rubbing the horse with that ointment or that salve that she had made. And pretty soon she said, okay, I'm ready for the rags. And she started wrapping the horse foot. And we all went home. They thanked her, and then the lady came back and asked our manager to translate and said, how long will it take the horse to get better, if he's going to get better? And my grandmother said, it's going to take about a week. Give him a week. To our surprise, 3 or 4 days later, they came to thank my grandmother. The horse was now walking and working like a couple of months before, and they were astounded. And the man wanted my grandmother to show him how to do that ointment or that salve. My grandmother, of course, did not understand a word he was saying, and through the interpretation of the manager asked my grandmother, and she said, I need to ask the trees. The manager was taken back, and he did not translate it correctly. He said, she doesn't remember. And that was that. So I asked my grandmother, my Abuela, I asked her, does this thing work on animals and humans alike? And she said, yes, it's a medicine put there by God into the trees, who are the oldest living things in this world. They live to be thousands of years old. So they're very wise, and they know when to give the medication. I was really small, so I did not understand, even though she tried to explain. But I do have a good recollection of that. Like I said before, with my ischemic stroke, I lost part of my capabilities of remembering. But I do remember those days. And I question myself, could I be having Alzheimer's? Because of the fact that I remember those things. I just don't remember exactly what she put in that jar, how she made it. All I remember is that she was busy doing it. So we left that little town, and we went to another town. And again, the same. It was the same thing. Pack up your things, the little belongings that we had, and put them in the truck. We had no beds. We had just pots and pans and blankets and our clothes. That's it. Nothing more. We went to the other town, and again we went into woods. There was a willow tree there, and we all wanted to make it a house, a palace. We were going to do a fort, we were going to do a house, because all the leaves of the willow tree were almost to the ground, and it was hollow. I mean, from the leaves to the tree was a hollow space. So when my grandmother saw me, she said, you don't go there. And I said, why? I saw it, you said that the trees were best friends. And she said, yeah, they are. The snakes are not. So I said, what do you mean? She says, the snakes have a tendency of going to those trees and making their homes. So unless somebody comes and cleans that tree out, you can't go in there. So one of the kids was the son of the manager that managed us, and told him. So they believed me. I mean, my abuela said. And so they clean it up, and sure enough, there was not one, but more than 2 or 3 snakes. They were rattlesnakes. And so they killed the snakes. They made sure there were no more snakes. So the tree was clean. The kids went to play. I was not allowed. I thought my grandmother, my abuela, was being very unfair to me, but she was the head of the household. She was the one that set the rules. Again, we went into the woods. Again, she would not take any sap or any of the resin that was drying up from the tree, because she would say that the tree was healing itself. This is how they heal themselves. This is how they live this many years. This is how they accumulate their age and their wisdom. I did not understand. Now I do. So I will be talking more to you about the remedies, the medicine, the antiseptics, the anti-inflammatory, anything that a human can have or can suffer from. These trees have the remedy for it. These trees have the cure. It's just a matter of exploring them more. And I'm sure Big Pharma knows. And that's how they get their medicine from. And that's what they sell to us when it's out there free. Free for us to take, free for us to anoint ourselves, free for us to cure ourselves, if we only explore a little bit more. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.